What's up, dudes? Max here, and pretty crazy couple of days for anybody that's a Killer Instinct fan. As you all know, Iron Galaxy released the full change list for the original 8 characters in KI, as well as updating TJ Combo quite a bit from what we saw before. And there's a good chance you already saw them, but in case you didn't, there were 3 change videos that I was able to make officially for the guys at Iron Galaxy and Microsoft, covering all the adjustments to the original 8 character roster, as well as the system changes themselves. Kind of crazy because literally the couple of days before and right before all this stuff happened, I made a video talking about the things I'd like to see a change with these characters, and it was kind of crazy. Right after all that stuff went up, the Microsoft guys contacted me. They're like, here's some footage, we would like you to make some videos regarding this, and I'm like, okay. And a lot of things were kind of as I thought they would go. So let's just quickly talk about each character and what I think is happening. And let's overall just talk about the system changes because, wow guys, Killer Instinct is pretty much a whole new game in my opinion. The counterbreaker system, how the air stuff is taking place, and pretty much all the system-wide changes, the meter reduction, like everything, that is already going to make Killer Instinct a new game. And that inherently is going to change a lot of characters already. From the gameplay we saw of them playing, it doesn't seem too bad, like the meter stuff. Even though meter build has been reduced and singular hits do more damage now, it seems that kind of balances each other out. You know what I mean? That the meter gain was how you got a lot of damage in Season 1 of KI. The regular hits doing more damage is going to naturally buff characters like Glacius, I feel, a lot. And that's kind of why he doesn't need to use all the shadow moves anymore to get damage, because he's just going to do good from jumping poking attacks now. So let's just quickly talk about the characters. The system-wide changes itself already makes Killer Instinct a new game in my opinion. The characters is where this is completely a new game. Jago's game plan, he does have to still do somewhat similar to what he did with his Instinct before, but now his Instinct has changed because he gets Shadow Jago's double fireballs, he gets to do all this crazy BS on them in the air now and get a lot more health back, it feels like he had before, but he did get nerfed overall, mostly because he can't do the wind kick shenanigans, and I'd get caught by wind kick all the time, man. It doesn't feel like that's going to be nearly as prominent anymore because the heavy one's really unsafe and the shadow one doesn't go nearly as far. But the manuals are a big nerf to Jago. And it's not even a nerf anymore because everyone else has to deal with the same thing. Manual timing for everyone is going to be identical. You're not going to have to deal with one character that has better manuals than another, and that does inherently nerf Jago, but it's a nerf to everyone else as well. But Jago had manuals where you can do light linkers and get heavies, so like I said, it's going to be big. I'm not worried about this stuff. I still feel KI is going to be fundamentally the same. You're going to do the same kind of things, but the way you play a lot of the characters is changing. Glacius, for example, I think is totally changing with the fact that his hail now hits the ground and bounces, and his jumping attacks are going to do more damage because those singular hits will do more damage. That's the totally different character. Liquid Eyes also makes him go off the screen. I think the way you approach him might even be more offensive than the usual defensive standard for Glacius before. The other one that immediately pops to mind is Orchid, and they pretty much gave Orchid what's similar to Injustice. Joker has this chatterbox setup where he throws out these teeth and they explode after a while, and it makes you kind of get locked in place. He would end his combos with the teeth and he'd lock you there and he'd do a jump up or an overhead. That's exactly what every Orchid is going to be doing from now on. I guarantee you almost all of Orchid's enders are going to result in the fireball forward, or like the launcher ender, and she's going to do down heavy punch and throw out a bomb, and that bomb is going to drop and you're going to be forced to block it or do something or figure out what she's going to do. That's going to make her a very powerful mix-up character. I don't think it immediately makes her top tier, but it makes her a lot better than what she had before. They did increase her poking game as well, so she's way better at poking now. Her far heavy punch is way better. Her far medium punch is way better, so Orchid's going to be a much better character than she was in Season 1, and she wasn't bad in Season 1 either. Saberwulf got nerfed, and what's funny is that they pretty much did exactly what I thought they were going to do. His backdash was very abusable. The cross-up Shadow Eclipse thing was ridiculous. I don't know if Shadow Eclipse is still fully invincible. I kind of hope it's not, but they gave Saberwulf a recapture. They gave him the same thing that TJ Combo has, and from what I understand now, other than Orchid's like air throw, Wolf can actually get you back down onto the ground for a combo, and that's big. That's actually really big for that character, so we'll see what happens to Wolf. The way you play him is going to be a lot different now. His dash really didn't get nerfed. His forward dash is just visually different now, and the character reacts a bit faster. So that one I need to play. I really need to play Saberwulf. on top of his instinct change, which gives him a new, like, Roman cancel. He's able to reset. That's cool. That's really neat. I think that makes his instinct a little bit more fun. Other than that, the other big ones was... The character I predict is going to be the best in KI Season 2 is actually Spinal. Spinal's still going to have a arc of difficulty. He's not going to be as ridiculously, accessible as another character might be in the game. He's still going to be hard to use because a lot of the stuff you do with Spinal is still going to be the same. But that run cancel, the way his skulls work now, he gets everything that makes him good a lot better, but there is one thing that nerfs him quite a bit. And it's that Spinal can always get back into a match. Even though you might be damaging Spinal, for example, if Spinal has a skull, he can always get back in the match. And the reason being is that if Spinal's taking damage and he gets a combo breaker, what happens? The other person gets a hard knockdown, Spinal throws out his skull setup, and you gotta make this crazy left, right, low, or high guess as far as where Spinal's mix-up is gonna go, because he's the best mix-up character in the game. And now that's gone, and the system change nerfs the hell out of it because the post-combo breaker situation no longer results in a hard knockdown. It's a soft knockdown now. You can actually tech get up. So Spinal won't get that free setup, and that's big. That means that Spinal's comeback power isn't guaranteed anymore. So that one, I inherently was immediately like, Spinal's the best character in the game, like flat out. But now I don't know. It's a lot of this stuff, we're going to have to play through it to see how it exactly changes. Thunder, that seems like some really good changes. There wasn't too much that was adjusted with Thunder. I think he has the least changes of everyone. He got that move, that Thunder attack, which I think looks great. So I'm happy with what they did to Thunder. Sadira's adjustments completely make sense. I don't think she's really nerfed. She's still got her cross-up shenanigans. Her jumping HK doesn't cross up as easy, but it still crosses up. So it's funny, they kind of did something that I mentioned, but not really. So I'm still glad that there was a slight adjustment, but the big stuff, the stuff that we all expect is getting adjustments. All the unbreakable nonsense, that stuff's going to be ridiculously different in Season 2, kind of for every character across the cast that had those juggle combos. So Sadira is everything I expect for the current EVO winning championship character. And of course, the big one is my favorite robot, Fulgore. I'm inherently kind of worried about Fulgore because amongst all these other characters that have all this new stuff you get to do with them, I feel like I have to completely relearn how to use Fulgore. And I don't know if that's exactly a bad thing. It feels like with the robot that they kind of took a risk with this character, and they did something drastic. They severely adjusted how he plays. And in case you guys didn't see what it was, they essentially allowed his meter, his reactor gauge, to build pips automatically. He does not have a shadow meter. He does not have the usual gauge like everyone else does, but his bar just naturally progresses the more offensive you are. And if you take damage, or if you're knocked down, or if you actually use laser charges like the fireball laser or his eye lasers, the reactor slows as well and you don't get pips as fast. And they gave you Devastation Beam. Like, Devastation Beam expels the entire thing and it brings you back to a complete slowed down state in the reactor. And that's cool, but they nerfed the damage. It got nerfed by about 10%, it looks like. So it does about 30% damage, but you can do it at any time. I don't see myself using that as much now. Even in Instinct, I don't think I'm going to be using it, because it doesn't do as much damage anymore, and it expels everything that makes Fulgore good, so I think that might be a lot better used to Shadow moves. Shadow moves will give you a lot more damage in Fulgore's combos now, especially since he's being offensive, and since you're being offensive, it's going to give you meter back and stuff like that. I don't know, Fulgore is fundamentally completely different, and the way you're going to play him is a lot different. I absolutely love that they made jumping eye lasers actually useful. You can cancel out of an uppercut into jumping eye lasers now. That's awesome. And you can kind of make uppercuts safe, similar to how Jago and Orchid can do with shadow moves. So that's really cool. But it's just weird thinking that, what do I do after, the fireball ender? Like, what do I charge anymore? No, after the fireball ender, which causes a hard knockdown, most Fulgore players are going to go for a kind of like a guaranteed setup, similar to how Spinal would look for a hard knockdown after a combo breaker. Fulgore's going to toss out an energy beam and probably do some crazy setup after that. So it's kind of similar to what you had before, but you don't ever have to focus on charging ever again because they removed the charging. The other reason I say Fulgore is going to be, Fulgore players have to relearn how to play him, is because the directional input for what his teleport is no longer a Shoryuken back motion. It's just fireball back with kick. And you go to the same exact positions that he did every time before, but it's just a different motion now. It's not a lot different, I know, but my brain is already hardwired to Fulgore working a certain way, which is why I think you have to relearn him I do think Fulgore is going to be a better character. They did a slight nerf to Fulgore's forward heavy punch. I'm shocked they didn't do anything to Jago's forward heavy kick, which starts combos with, a lot of damage. So it's interesting. There's some frame data and stuff that I thought they would totally change, and they absolutely didn't. And then they drastically changed things with a lot of other characters, especially Orchid, especially Spinal, especially Glacius. And everyone kind of got drastic changes, which is kind of nuts. It does feel like a whole new game. And I don't know if that's exactly a bad thing, even though I really like Killer Instinct Season 1. But when fighting games in like their Ultimate or their Super versions or whatever iterations come out, I expect there to be some pretty drastic changes. This has happened many times in the past, especially with games like Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or Street Fighter 4, where the Super version of Street Fighter 4 wasn't exactly what I was expecting. It was pretty much the exact same game, just with more characters and some slight adjustments to everybody. And Ultimate Marvel 3 was fairly similar as well. Like, some system changes changed, some characters, minor stuff changed, but the game was fundamentally the same. This is totally different. Like, right now, I feel Killer Instinct is totally different, and the way you play characters will be different because of the new things they have. And like I said, I think that's kind of fun. I think that gets me totally excited once again to just jump back in and play KI as a whole new fighting game and just go through the grind once more and just learn every character and what they can do, have brand new week ofs, because man, it's exactly as I thought. These adjustments are severe enough where they're going to feel like brand new characters, and what you do in neutral game and after jump-ins and cross-ups is going to be different. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think these changes are a little bit too drastic? Do you think that Killer Instinct Season 1 needed like kind of more time in the oven? Or do you think that drastic changes is kind of a good thing for a fighting game and gives us a big update and a whole new reason to play the game all over again outside of some minor frame adjustments? Which is kind of what happens to the majority of Street Fighter games outside of Ultra with the Red Focus stuff, which I really love. That makes Red Focus makes Street Fighter 4 a lot of fun for me. So, yeah, I think your feedback's important here, guys. Thank you very much for sticking with me. I know it was kind of weird that I had my predictions and then the change videos came out, and then this is right after, but it's an exciting time for Killer Instinct, and this character stuff's going to be dropping in just under 3 weeks on September 23rd, so stay tuned, dudes. We're going to have TJ Combo, which is looking really good right now. He looks a lot better than he did before, as well as all this character adjustment stuff for the Season 2 preview, and I'll be grabbing my physical copy of KI, that's for sure, as soon as it hits store shelves. But if there's anything else in the meantime, if there's any trailers, I'll be doing breakdowns, and I'll be back as soon as we got more info for Killer Instinct. My name is Maximilian, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.